Hello and welcome to Genesis Training. This is your trainer Kaustav. The topic for this video is simple interest and compound interest, and the subtopic for this particular video is compound interest. Let's get started with the concept. Now we already know what simple interest is. It is PTR by 100. Now compound interest. A lot of people think that the formula for compound interest is P into 1 plus R by 100 to the power T. T being the time. But this is not the formula for compound interest. This is the formula for amount when the principal is compounded. This is the final amount. So how do you find the compound interest? It's nothing but amount minus principal. That is this minus principal. That's it. But when it comes to aptitude test, this formula is more or less useless because in most of the aptitude tests, you will not have access to calculator. And in order to use this formula properly, obviously you need the access of calculator because of this power over here. So how to solve compound interest problems without the use of calculator? Let me show you. Let me use the same example as the simple interest example. That is, principal is 100. The time is 4 years. The rate is 10%. Let's find the compound interest. This is how we do this. We have 100 as the principal. This first increases by 10%. 10% of 100 is 10. This gets added over here, it becomes 110. After that, this increases by 10%. This is the main difference between simple interest and compound interest. Here, the principal keeps on getting updated. In simple interest, the principal stays same. So we have 10% of 110 now, that is 11. This plus this is 121. Now this increases by 10%, that is 12.1. This gets added over here, 133.1. Then this increases by 10%, that is 13.31. This gets added over here, 146.41, which is not the final answer. Why? Because we are looking for the compound interest and this is the final amount. So how to find the compound interest? Amount minus principal, obviously. 146.41 minus 100, that is 46.41. Another way to find the compound interest is you add all these individual interests. This plus this plus this plus this will also be equal to 46.41. That's the concept. Let's get started with the questions. The compound interest on 30,000 at 7% per annum is this much. The period in years is how much? This one you cannot solve using the formula anyway because we have to find the time, and in the formula, if you remember, the time is in the power. So not only do you need a calculator, but you need a scientific calculator with an anti-log function to find that. But how do we do this without the calculator? Very simple. We use trial and error. We have 30,000. This first increases by 7%, that is 2100. So in the first year, the interest is 2100, which is not equal to 4347. So 1 year is the wrong answer. This gets added over here. We have 32100. Then this increases by 7%, that is equal to 2247. Now, if you add these two, 2100 plus 2247, that is nothing but 4347. And this happened in how many years? In 2 years. So 2 years is the right answer. In 2 years, you have the rate, you have the interest to be 4347. That's it. Trial and error. Let's move on. Suresh invests 5,000 rupees for 3 years at a certain rate of interest compounded annually. At the end of 1 year, it amounts to 5600. Wonderful. One thing about simple interest and compound interest is that when it is just 1 year, SI and CI are the same because the principal is the same. So we have the principal to be 5,000. The amount after 1 year is 5600. So the interest after 1 year is 600. This minus this. Time is 1 year. Let's find the rate. Rate is nothing but interest, that is 600 into 100 divided by principal into time. 5,000 into 1. This is nothing but 12%. calculate the amount due at the end of the second year. Okay. So at the end of the first year it is 5600. Then this has to increase by 12%. How to do this without the calculator? 12% is nothing but 10% plus 1% plus 1%. 10% of 5600 is 560. 1% is 56. 1% is 56. Now let's find the units place of this answer. Final answer is this plus this. 0 plus 0 plus 6 plus 6 is nothing but 12. So the final answer has to end with a 2. If you look at the options, there is just one option which ends with a 2. That is the final answer. That's it. Let's move on. If the amount becomes 6¼ times of the principal after 2 years of CI, then the rate of interest is what? This is one of those rare times where we'll be using the formula. The formula is amount equals principal into 1 plus r by 100 to the power t. So the amount is 6 and 1/4 times of principal. 6 and 1/4 means 25 by 4 equals 25 by 4 into principal equals principal into 1 plus r by 100 to the power 2, because time is 2 years. So principal and principal gone, and 25 by 4 is nothing but 5 by 2 whole square. So square and square gone. We have 1 plus r by 100 equals 5 by 2. So r by 100 equals 5 by 2 minus 1, that is equal to 3 by 2. So rate equals 3 by 2 into 100, that is equal to 150%. Answer is B. Now how do you know when to use the formula and when you don't need to use the formula? Remember, when the rate is not given in compound interest, you have to use the formula. There is no other go. But if the rate is given, then you can use the flowchart method that I used in the previous two questions. Let's move on. A sum of money at compound interest doubled at a certain rate in 4 years. In how many years will it become 8 times at the same rate? This question again has a beautiful shortcut. The data is the principal becomes 2 times. In how many years? In 4 years. So it will become 8 times in how many years? The formula, the shortcut of this goes like this. We have the principal, it will become 2 to the power n times in 4n years. This is the shortcut. What does this mean? This means that the principal will become 2 square times, that is 4 times in how many years? 4 into 2 years, that is 8 years. But that is not the question. They have asked for 8 times. 8 times is nothing but 2 cube times. That will happen in 4 into 3, that is 12 years. That is what it is. Answer is B. Let's move on. Albert invested an amount of 8,000 in a fixed deposit scheme for 2 years and compounded at the interest rate of 5 PCPA. A lot of people get confused about this term. This simply means percentage compounded per annum. Simply put, percent per annum. That's all. How much amount will Albert get on maturity of the fixed deposit amount? Final amount, that is including the interest. So we have 8,000. This first increases by 5%. 5% is nothing but half of 10%. 10% of 8,000 is 800. Half of that is 400. This plus this, we have 8400. This is after the first year. Then comes the second year. Again 5%. Again half of 10%. 10% of 8400 is 840. Half of that is 420. This gets added over here. We have 8820. The answer is D. That's it. So this was the end of the first chapter of compound interest. Like I mentioned, the amount is p into 1 plus r by 100 to the power t. But in 90% of the aptitude questions on compound interest, we don't use this. We simply use the flowchart method because it is easier to calculate. Yes, if you have the calculator, then you can use this in order to save time. But if you do not, if you try to solve the questions with hand using this formula, it will just end up wasting your time. Thank you so much. This was all for this video.